Rainbow Dash, Red Sky, A True Love by Switch Down. It has been a normal day for Rainbow Dash at Wonderbolt Academy, training with her team for an upcoming show in Cantlot. She and her team has been practiced for a lot of this for this new show, and especially the new tricks. Even Spitfire and Soren had been impressed how much Rainbow in, had increased her work within Wonderbolts over the past few months after she became a full member. But after being practiced for so long, after nearly 4 weeks in a row, Spitfire had given the rest of the team day off for the next couple of days to relax, so they didn't had any exhaustion for the show. So Rainbow Dash actually spent more time at the school. She teaching her students about a little bit more about Wonderbolt's history and about how to be loyal and about trusting others, and especially no matter what creature or kingdom they are from. Even after her school duties as a teacher, she did mind to be a teacher first, but at the first time when she was asked to by Twilight, she thought, I'm going to be an egghead? That was her only reaction. But after some time been teaching students about how to be loyal and also teaching about elements and wonderballs, that was something that she actually enjoyed. At first she hated to be a teacher or a professor, but after some time she actually loved it. She noticed how much her students actually paid attention to her stories, or especially to her classes. She even were also the unit class teacher as well. But this time something did happen. One day she saw a new student in her class, a piggy by the name Red Sky. Red Sky was originally had moved to Ponyville only about 2 years earlier, but she had never much noticed her. Red Sky has been very quiet most of the time when she lived there. She usually works at Sweet Apple Acres helping transporting some apples to the market or babysitting some friends, children, and she mostly has some part-time works around town. But she wanted to study about the school, so she applied for a place there. Twilight didn't mind to letting another Pegasi to study at school. But unfortunately, after nearly 6 months at the school, Red Sky had to drop out of school. Not because of the finance, because of she had actually more a fine family matter to take care of. It turns out her uncle was ill. For the past few months, he has been feeling sick lately. It turns out he has been poisoned by a flower, and the only cure to find it was nearly impossible. She found out that the only cure grows in the northern Crystal Mountains, away north of the Crystal Empire. She was actually talking to a few students at the school about this, and Rainbow Dash heard about this conversation. That Rainbow was very paying attention to that. Red Sky mentioned that the only cure to find or to save her uncle's life was a particular flower who grows in the Crystal Mountains in north of Crystal Empire. But that region was too dangerous even to fly in, because there was always a bad storm in the region, so no pony would even dare to even fly in that particular area, or even to walk through the mountains would take days or perhaps weeks to even reach it. And since Red Sky was not even an experienced climber or even experienced to fly in bad weather, she even said, why would they send any pony to this region to find the flower and bring it back? But to do so, they had to pay a very some experienced pony, but most of the experienced pony would say, no, that is the limit how they experience it. Red Sky was actually very close to her uncle because he was like a father figure, since her own father passed only 5 years earlier. So her uncle helped to look after her and her mother over time, and he became like a father figure for her. And she very loved him so much, and we looked up to him. After that, they found out that he's been poisoned by this strange flower. She was devastated. Now she's going to lose her uncle, her adopted father, someone she was very close to and looked up to very much. She wanted to lose another father figure after her own father passed. She couldn't even handle it, so she told some of the fallen students, if they couldn't find it, I will. So, but they didn't believe it, and Rainbow Dash and even the other believed as well. They all thought that she was just making this story up, well, the point that she would go herself to find this flower and bring it back to save her uncle. None of her friends didn't believe that she could be so brave. So she didn't mention this anymore to her friends or other students. But when she was in the school before she dropped out, she studied a lot of flowers and biology to find any other possible cure for this disease. If this flower can grow somewhere else, like in more closer areas or regions. But it turns out it only grows in the Crystal Mountains, nowhere else. So she decided to find it. So one day when she was just dropped out of school, she didn't go back home to Cloudsdale. She actually stayed in Ponyville, gathered enough supplies for her trip there. She didn't mention this to anyone. She actually took a bag and left in the middle of the night. Flew quietly through town, so no pony would mention or seen her leaving. She even left a note in her own apartment. If some of her friends or family would try to find her, it was too late. Since then, the next day, no pony didn't see her. Maybe they thought that she had been in Cloudsdale because of her uncle's condition. So no one didn't pay much attention to her apartment. But the next 2 days afterwards, she actually hasn't been to works. Also, they went to her family in Cloudsdale to see if she has been there, but they confirmed she hasn't been there for nearly a week. And then they decided to go to her apartment to find nothing, empty. She hasn't been there a few days, except for the letter on the table. Twilight showed this and informed her friends about it, but they had no idea if this is about it, until Rainbow informed them some more valuable information. She informed them that she heard a conversation between Red Sky and some other performing students that the only cure to this disease or this illness is a flower in the Crystal Mountains, and that turns out that Red Sky was brave enough, and so what some other friends call stupid, reason to go to the Crystal Mountains and to get this flower to save her uncle, even if that can get her own killed. Rainbow thought they had to find her, but since the Crystal Mountains is a very big mountain range, it was nearly impossible. Even Twilight even confirmed and said That is way too dangerous, Rainbow. They would never even go there herself. Even if Twilight used a spell like to make a barrier around her, Fluttershy, or Rainbow, the storm would still to be too dangerous for even to fly in, even as the barrier around them. Even if they had to walk around the ground, it would take them days to find her, because even if they found tracks of her in the snow, they were probably all gone, because the snow had been covered them like almost instantly. And there has been reports of history throughout history, many ponies who tried to get to the Crystal Mountains often abandoned the halfway there and went back, or some worst case, perished in the mountains by died in the freezing cold temperature. But during the summer times, the temperature is a little bit warmer, but during winter, it is almost like twice as the cold. And Rainbow, she didn't care. She wanted to save Red Sky from her certain doom. Not because that she's a fallen friend, but she really cares for her. She had actually fallen in love in Red Sky because she's brave, thinks that she has to save her uncle no matter what happens. So Rainbow thought maybe they should send some sort of group to find her. But Twilight would not allow it. Not she didn't want to say risk other opponents' lives because to find risk. Not because that she didn't want to, just because she don't have no clue where in the mountains where Red Sky were or what to do. In a direction she went, or even she even right to step to the place. Perhaps she abandoned her plan to save the flower, to get the flower, and allow her uncle to pass naturally. Just, but that was something Rainbow couldn't accept. She knows that Red Sky will never abandon her uncle's life because of just from that. She abandoned her friends and left. Her friends didn't pay much attention. They even discussed about how to find Red Sky and bring her back. But it turns out they couldn't even figure out how. Even Starlight said that she could use some of her new spells and perhaps ancient spells that could save, give them some time, and perhaps help them in the search for Red Sky. But she had to study those spells at least for a night. And during the same time, Rainbow had actually taken her own backpack full with food, up supplies that she could need, rope, anything, and took off middle of the night at fast speed. Even though that her friends would never know it. But earlier that same morning, they found out the Rainbow had left. And they one of Rainbow, how could she be so stupid to do that? She asked after it. But Twilight mentioned that the only reason why Rainbow did this is because she's in love with Red Sky. The others just looked at Twilight. They had never heard of her, except her. But they decided not to follow. At the same time, in the mountains, Red Sky had actually been there for nearly 2 days, and she managed to get almost halfway at the top of the mountains. According to her old diaries from what she found, the flowers can be found one particular places in the top level of mountains. She had to climb. She tried to fly up there, but the winds were too strong. She nearly fell into right in the rock side of the mountain. But she managed to land in the snow safely. So she had to climb all the way up. But almost halfway up, she had to take a break and put up a tent to sleep. Even she was freezing in the middle of the night. It was middle of the summer, but it was still cold enough for freezing. And the next morning, she actually was straight up there, even though she had no idea what Rainbow was on the way. When Rainbow was close to the mountains, she could see the reach in a far distance. Now she knows this isn't far away, so she took even further faster as she could. At the same time, when she reached mountain ridge, she could see a blue figure on top of the mountain. It was Red. She was climbing until she lost the grip and fall. Rainbow managed to catch her and fly her up to the from the plateau where they could be staying. She schooled out Red Sky. How could she be so reckless to not gonna guard her own life to save him? But she understands the loyalty to her family and that she wants to save her uncle. So she agrees to help her to find the flower faster than they could, the faster they could get up the mountains. After nearly few months of searching, they found the flower and they packed it down. At least two of them would be enough. And since Red Sky was too cold to fly down, Rainbow carried her on her back and they flew all the way to Crystal Empire where they could be rested, and after that they took the train all the way back to Ponyville, but not before then they ever actually took off therefrom, flying to Cloudstone without telling a friend all about it. They even noticed that that Rainbow and Red Sky was actually back. But when they arrived to the Cloudstone, her uncle was very close. But the magic gave the flowers, and Red Sky informed her family how she got the flowers, and they scolded her again. But her uncle said, "Don't fight. She saved my life, and I'm care about that. She's brave enough, like her father." After her uncle got the medicine, he was cured, but it took nearly about 2 weeks before him to be fully recovered. And during the time, Rainbow actually asked Red Sky to marry her, and Red Sky said yes immediately, because Red Sky was deeply in love with her. It took nearly about 2 months before they actually became married. But during the time before the wedding, Rainbow and her friends actually started planning for this big holiday and for this big event. They discussed would it be in Ponyville, Cloudsdale, Canterlot, but they decided in Ponyville. Rainbow had asked Rarity to be her bridesmaids, and Red Sky had asked Fluttershy to be her bridesmaids, and Twilight had been asked to perform the ceremony. And after this big wedding, they actually had a big party, which Pinkie Pie and Discord organized. And after that, they actually went to Saudi Arabia for 2 weeks on their honeymoon. But only 2 years after their wedding, Rainbow and Red Sky had been talking about starting a family. So they decided to actually ask Twilight for help. Rainbow became pregnant first and she had a son. And only 2 years later, Red Sky became pregnant and she had twin daughters. And that was how Rainbow and Red Sky found true love, not a family. The end.